Hey guys, King of Charmass here to be your judge, your jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you my best, I think for me, this is my best team for the Fossil Cup. It's a great team that where even if you lose the lead because of the rock, paper, scissors nature of this game, you can go ahead, take back switch against most teams with Pelipper, and then you can close out and lock into the fighter. So this is Ferrothorn, Pelipper, as well as Jellicent in the back. You want Ferrothorn in the lead because you're going to end up with a lot of mirrors, or you find the fighter in lead with what you want. With Pelipper, you can possibly win back switch or take back switch, as you see here in a lot of these shoutcasts. If you get a Registeel thrown to you, try to weather ball it to death. That's probably the hardest one you get. Try to weather ball it to death and then realign, and then hope that your back row, like Jellicent, they do have a fighter back, and you can lock it into something like a wall. For example, Poliwrath gets hard walled by Jellicent, and you're going to see it in the shoutcast just how I use it. But yes, I think this team's really solid and does really well for the RPS nature or taking back switch and then trying to cover Ferrothorn's weakness. So this is Ferrothorn, Pelipper, and Jellicent, like I mentioned, and it's a really solid team. I'm going to teach you how to play the mirror. Obviously, you win the lead, and I already mentioned that Registeel scenario, like I mentioned, because if they switch Registeel to me, it's already pretty rough. So just putting that out there. But this team's really powerful, and it does get me a 7-0. You're going to see the 5-0 in this shoutcast, and it's really... Dang, some of these battles, though. If you have really good energy management, 3-turn moves can actually work out for you very well. But before we get started, this is my therapist mental health tip of the day. And this is actually one thing I actually didn't know. So one of my colleagues actually gave me this worksheet. So again, it's from Therapist 8, you can look it up. And it's called urge surfing. So urge surfing is a technique for managing your unwanted behaviors. Rather than giving into an urge, you ride it out like a surfer riding a wave. After a short time, the urge will pass on its own. I really wish this applied to food. Well, it kind of does. So basically, y'all want to go to Cheesecake Factory, right? So if you go to Cheesecake Factory, you really want the cheesecake, but they didn't have it. Or no, wait, hold on. No, this is better. McDonald's. You go to McDonald's and their ice cream machine is broken. And then you're like, really, dude? So instead of getting angry at the poor cashier in the front who has no idea why their ice cream machine is broken or it is factually broken, you decide to stop, just get your order, and then put it out. That's basically what urge surfing is. When it comes to go Battle League. For example, you feel like you have to battle more or do all of your sets. You don't actually have to do it. If you wait a little bit, the urge to do more sets or the urge to do whatever it is for Pokemon Go or Go Battle League will eventually phase out. And there again, I always put these worksheets in the description below. And it has a really good model for what urge surfing is, and this technique can be used to stop or reduce drug and alcohol use, emotional reactions such as blowing up when angry, gambling, and other unwanted behaviors. If you are molding, this is particularly for you, especially when blowing up, so you don't throw your phone halfway across the room and then you end up with hundreds of dollars worth of bills, or then you have to fix your phone because it's the pain to fix and because you got angry at Go Battle League. So I understand some of you are angry, especially with the state of the game right now and how broken it is, and hopefully this urge surfing worksheet does help you out. So the important thing is, how do you practice urge surfing? You acknowledge when you have the urge, notice when your thoughts or feelings are trying to change or suppress them without trying to change or suppress them. So notice them like, okay, I'm really pissed off right now. And then remind yourself, and I'm like, it's okay, it's whatever though, it's lag, it's Go Battle League. For example, you play Go Battle League, you play a game, you lag, you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to kill this phone right now, throw the phone. You're just like, you know, whatever. And then you're just like, you know, it's what it is. And then it's like, it's whatever. It's Go Battle League. At the end of the day, it doesn't really affect my daily life or my personal life. And poof, dang, done with the urge. So again, the worksheet's going to be in the description below. Hope y'all enjoyed the tip, and hope y'all enjoyed my sweet 7-0 with what I think is the best team for the Fossil Cup. Now, further ado, let's get started. All right, here are the battles. So Ferrothorn, like I mentioned, is in the lead for a reason. You want to see his stuff. You want to see the fighter and then basically line it up with Pelipper. Or not Pelipper, I mean Jellicent. So you see we win the lead here. And speaking of Pelippers, we get a Pelipper. And I'm like, oh. So I'm like, oh, this is great. Remember I told you there's going to be a lot of Pelipper Stay Switch mirrors? Well, guess what? Here's one. I usually do this. I fire off the power whip first to lead them down the shields because your opponent has a lot of pressure on them. they have to really bait you in order to come out with this game on top. So they have to bait both of your shields, then go for the Hurricane, since they do have extra energy. Unless they go straight Hurricane like this, which is very ballsy. But the good thing about having that little bit of chip damage with those Bullet Seeds is that you're able to just straight Weather Ball. As you see here, I managed to debate the unholy crap out of opponent with Weather Ball. I should be able to shield this one. They're likely going to Hurricane in this scenario. If not, then you create this really great opportunity for me to just send in this 426-9 Hurricane if I don't happen to fire my Weather Ball on the Jellicent. Good on my opponent for seeing that for switching out and seeing that their timer is up. But I don't plan on switching out here. All I'm going to do is fire the Hurricane because my opponent should be near death. We already have a Paraplayer that's almost literally expired. And then as you see here, one Hurricane will put this Jellicent in the red. They have to throw their energy here unless they want to get Weather Ball down. The good thing is I can get some extra farm here, and their Pelipper has to get to another Hurricane if they want to KO my Ferrothorn. And now because my opponent gave up switch, I have full control over this matchup right now. Our opponent sends in a Ferrothorn, which is actually really bad for us right now. And it made me realize this is actually just a mirror team. But the reason you don't, so there's a specific reason you don't want Ferrothorn in the lead is because if you see the fighter, you want to be able to realign. And you don't want to do what my opponent did where you're going Hurricane, where you're just going super Hurricane mode in hopes that you could take back switch. Because you need to be, if you lose switch with Pelipper, you need to be able to bank on being able to bait a shield with Weather Ball unless you're really confident in your ability to take back switch. Otherwise, this is what happens. You screw up your alignment, and like I mentioned, the fighter usually is going to be in the lead a lot more than per se, or you would get the fighter or the mirror a lot more than you would be. So Jellicent leads a pretty big risk. So especially if you get Registeel or Ferrothorn, then you just lose it out. As you see, my opponent's trying to 2000 IQ me, but all I'm going to do is get a little bit of extra energy here. I'm going to fire off this bubble, and all I have to do is just do one more Hex, just my energy management here, trying to make it pristine, trying to make sure that I'm on point, so I can get to this shadow ball over here, and that's GG's. Good try by my opponent, but like I said, you want Ferrothorn in the lead for a reason. You don't want it in the back because usually your opponent will try to hide their fighter or water type in the back, or you realign with your water in front. So again, you're going to see my point here a lot in a lot of the mirror matches here because I go through 3 mirrors in this shoutcast. You got Ferrothorn on Ferrothorn action. And it's actually pretty simple on how to win this matchup. All you have to do is just make sure you get 1 extra bullet seed. Literally just 1. If you get 1, then they fire on the wrong interval. Then as you see here, you basically win it outright. Go for straight Thunder. Your opponent's likely going to have Thunder too unless they mirror shot or try to power up you to death. I got the extra bullet seed through, so I know I'm ahead on energy versus my opponent. So now all you have to do is just make sure you time your charge moves correctly and just make sure they don't get that energy refund back with an extra bullet seed. So as you see here, I'm just keeping that extra bullet seed advantage, allows me to win up. You just be careful. 3-turn fast moves are pretty easy to track, and I managed to get a second bullet seed through, which is even better. So now we're 2 bullet seeds ahead of our opponent. So I'm going to fire this third Thunder actually, and I know I'm 2 bullet seeds ahead of my opponent, so I should be able to get to a power up before they do. Keeping alignment is a little more important than keeping switch, but make sure you be careful in this scenario because your opponent might actually try to send in their Lucario or something like that, and because the game is really buggy right now, it won't switch on your second attack. I've tried it before, and if you try to switch fast enough, for some odd reason the second counter won't transfer over because, yeah. But as you see here, my opponent sends in their fighter, takes down my Ferrothorn, and all I have to do is send in Jellicent against Lucario. Lucario's still a little tricky because Shadow Ball does big damage. However, as you see here, all I have to do is really shield and just try to keep alignment, and then that should be game. My opponent is able to debate the holy crap out of it with Power Punch, so I'm going to fire a Bubble and counter, which is kind of bad because usually I find that Lucarios won't fall for the baits, and they actually fell for the bait this time around, which makes me really, really happy. I'm going to fire another Bubble Beam. My opponent shields it, that's fine. If not, it's okay. We have our opponent debuffed, and it's going to debuff them again. We can eat a Shadow Ball if need be, and then we still have a whole Pelipper in the back, and we still have a shield. So as you see here, I'm going to shield anyways because I don't want to leave Jellicent down because all it's going to take is one Bubble Beam. My opponent's going to Shadow Ball me, that's fine. But the fact that they are down like -3 with these Bubble Beams, I should be just fine. And as you see here, my opponent sends in a Swampert. Some of you asked a question about Shadow versus the regular one. I think the regular one's better, specifically because of the Pelipper matchup. As you see here, one Weather Ball does a lot of damage. 2 Hydro Cannons won't kill Pelipper anyways. And because you're using a Shadow version, it creates a lot of opportunities for your opponent to farm down with Pelipper. As you see here, I'm just going to totally farm down this Swampert. And then one Wing Attack from my Pelipper should come out with the W. All I have to do is just keep tapping. Basically, just keep tapping. As my coach Taco would say, just keep tapping. And as you see, all we do is we just keep tapping and we come out the W, and that's GG's. Sweet 5-0. Like, this is a 5-0 with this team, and I do truly think it is the best team overall, just because its ability to cover. And like I mentioned, you want it. The mirror is a very, very disgusting thing, but make sure you get those extra bullet seeds through. We get Jellicent on Ferrothorn actually again, and this time we get an Araquanid. I shouldn't have swapped into Pelipper. Here's the thing, I would rather fire, if you fire a Jellicent, which is much better in this scenario because you're going to resist everything, it would have been a lot better. However, I can still take back Switch. This is why Pelipper is the strongest safe switch in the Fossil Cup, because all I literally have to do here is Hurricane, and even though it's -1, what happens here is bang. As you see, my opponent doesn't shield a Hurricane 6-9 420 Mach Hurricane, and all I have to do is Wing Attack down. We're going to come out of this matchup with at least a Weather Ball intact, and my opponent is going to have to decide whether or not they want to contend with Pelipper's Hurricane, because even though it's -2, Hurricane is still going to do a lot of damage. I'm going to fire this Hurricane. My opponent's probably not going to shield because they're -2, but as you see, it's still every little piece of chunk damage matters in this scenario. I'm going to go straight for the second Hurricane. I could have fired Weather Ball, but it doesn't really matter anyways. If my opponent fires a Bubble Beam here, just smart, or they undercharge it, they can get a little bit of extra energy with their hexes, as you see here. I like to fire a Weather Ball because I know I'm not going to get there anyways. It doesn't matter if I fire on this interval, because what happens is I'm not going to be able to get the Hurricane anyway. My opponent's going to be able to hex me down. So as you see, I send in Ferrothorn. I'm not going to shield the first one. It's probably going to be Shadow Balls. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and just fire a few Bullet Seeds here, and my opponent's probably going to elect to switch out, and they do into a Skarmory. As you see here, I switch really, really fast, and my win condition here is to really debate my opponent. I know my opponent, we're even shield scenarios right now, but because I have you locked in, I can fire off these Bubble Beams, and hopefully I can come out and take some shields. So if you can get this Bubble Beam lock-on debuff, it would be great. The problem is my opponent doesn't fall for the bait, which is actually terrible. I'm going to fire another Bubble Beam after going to Shadow Ball. Maybe my opponent will fall for the bait this time. Again, debuff, just debuff, debuff, debuff. We match grab shield, and that's great. -2, I should be able to take a Brave Bird even at this level. So even Brave Bird does big damage, but at a -2, Brave Bird won't do as much as you think it does, and it does not. So I'm going to fire this Bubble Beam, and my opponent's switch timer should be coming up soon. Since they're -2, my opponent's either going to eat the Bubble Beam or they're going to shield, and they choose to shield. They send in their Jellicent. However, I'm going to send in my Ferrothorn, and now my opponent's going to Shadow Ball me. So I'm going to shield this, and all I have to do is just go ahead and farm down. But my opponent actually 2000 IQs me. They bait me with Bubble Beam, and then they fire the Shadow Ball, but joke's on them. Because my energy management is really pristine, or I have really good energy management, I actually wanted this to happen for a reason. Because what happens is it doesn't really matter, because all I have to do is I measure my energy correctly to all I need is one Hex, and then this Shadow Ball should KO this Skarmory, and that's GG's. You think you 2000 IQ'd me, but I actually 2000 IQ'd you. So, not gonna lie, that was really good on my opponent to bait, and then fire the nuke, but still, oh my gosh. Still, that was crazy. So, next up for battle number 4, guess what? We got another, you actually technically lose this lead even though you have Thunder. And then we get our Pelipper onto Azu. This is terrible. So, fun fact, depending on whether or not this Azu is an XL or not, it could be a little rough. If it is an XL, you might be able to Hurricane to victory. My opponent calls a Hurricane, good on then, and I'm going to straight Hurricane. I should have Weather Ball to try to take a shield in this instance. However, my opponent is doing really well at calling my freaking Hurricanes. As you see here, I'm going to get an extra Wing Attack through, and I'm going to try to fire another Hurricane. But what happens here is really annoying. So as you see, Play Rough goes through. However, I'm going to fire another Hurricane, and I'm not actually going to get to another one. As you see here, they do shield. Now, here's the thing. My opponent tries to fire me down here, but that's a huge mistake. Because of the fact that you resist these bubbles, this Hurricane's going to come through, and now my opponent has to choose whether or not this actually won't kill at this range. I'm banking on it, and as you see here, it does not. My opponent fires their energy, which is perfectly fine. Even though we're going to come out of this, we come out with shield advantage, and all I have to do is fire one bullet seed, and I get one bullet seed of energy lead. Actually, 2 bullet seeds. So 2 bullet seeds of energy, and they get Skarmory sent in. As you see, I'm trying to watch out for a switch, and my opponent does not switch out. Thunder will do super effective damage here, and I still have a shield, and I should be good. As you see, Thunder goes through. My opponent then should either switch out, or they're going to try to bank energy. You could survive a Sky Attack. You can survive a Brave Bird as well. So in this instance, it doesn't really matter. As you see, Sky Attack goes through. I'm just trying to make sure my opponent doesn't switch into Thunder or anything like that, and I fire this Thunder. So now I'm guessing my opponent either has a water type in the back, since they're not sending their fire, or they would have sent a fire instead of Skarmory, and they do have a Jellicent. So I'm going to fire this Power Whip, and I want to force my opponent's energy out. My opponent has to get to literal 2 moves if they want to kill me. And as you see, they fire a Bubble Beam, which is a good idea. However, I have my own Jellicent in the back, and I still have a shield. Power Whip, even though this is a -1, will still do big damage, and my opponent should top left pretty soon, because with a shield, all I have to do is get the Shadow Ball, and I literally ball out, and that's GG's. Literal ball out, and you know, firing the Thunder like Kilowatt's Thunder, you know what I mean? Like his Godspeed. God, I love God, Hunter. I can't wait to watch the next episode today at my brother's place after watching the Warriors game. I can't wait. So you bring on the Thunder, you fire the Thunder like Kilowatt's Lightning, and then, or like, you know, like, what you call it? What's another Thunder Lightning? Excavalier. So as you see here, we see another Jellicent, and they send in Excavalier. So speaking of Warriors and Knights and like ants and swords and what, well, actually this makes sense because, you know, Yuppie from Hunter x Hunter, if you're watching Hunter x Hunter, yes, that is Yuppie, because Yuppie turns into a Minotaur and becomes a knight. That, or like, you know, Final Fantasy VII. I love Final Fantasy VII. One of my games that I grew up childhood with, and Knights of the Round is one of the most goated Guardian forces of all time. I love Knights of the Round. Final Fantasy VII was definitely my jam as a gamer. This is going to, as you see here, they fired Acid Spray, and I get really mad. Like, I don't get emotional and go battling anymore, but this one I was like, you dare Acid Spray me? But because I was able to farm down here, I'm going to fire this Weather Ball. I should have went for a Hurricane. I fire the Weather Ball here, and the reason why I shouldn't have went for a Hurricane, because they actually don't shield here, but this is what makes me scratch my head even more. I fire another Hurricane, and you're going to be surprised that my opponent does not do. As you see here, my opponent thinks I'm baiting again, but I'm not. I fire a Hurricane, and now my opponent has to contend with 2 whole Mons in even shield. This is terrible for them. So, as you see here, all they're going to do, they're likely going to Shadow Ball me. That's perfectly fine, you know what I mean? Because your Pringles is nearly dead. All I have to do is send in Jellicent to this Poliwrath. Jellicent walls Poliwrath really hard, and as you see, that's GG's. My opponent tried to be really fancy here, but unfortunately, I was fancier, and that's game. So, I hope you all enjoyed the battles, and I hope you all enjoyed this sweet 5-0. To me, this is the best team in the Fossil Cup. You're able to take back Switch, you're able to align, and like I mentioned, you're able to lock in those fighters like that Poliwrath, even though Poliwrath isn't well, it's a fighting type, but it fires Mud Shot, it doesn't fire counters. As you see here, I get to sweet 5-0. So, definitely, I go 7-0 overall, but this is a sweet team, and again, I hope you all enjoyed the Shopcast. And that's game. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Pretty sweet team, like I mentioned. You're probably seeing a lot of this combination or some components of these teams running around rampant just because they're all super meta. So it's a lot like Open Great League with bans, or if you've seen me before, it's a lot like Season 3 or Season 4 of Go Battle League when Jellicent first released. So really solid team. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Enjoyed the battles. It's very likely you have these built because these 3 have been around for a while. So, and they'll serve you long term in the future, like Ferrothorn, Pelipper, and Jellicent all have uses for like future cups and are great overall investments if you do plan on playing Go Battle League long term. Do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and also comment for the YouTube algorithm. I really do appreciate y'all that do that, and I do try to get back to y'all. And as much as I have to get back to Hunter x Hunter though, I can't wait to like get past it. Like I really want to finish it, and then I might even watch the 1999 version. But that anime, and then others going on like Spy X Family. Oh my god, I love Anya. Anya is so adorable, and she's like my spirit. I love Anya. She's an amazing character, and I love the emotion she puts out. She's freaking hilarious. So yes, love Spy X Family. If you don't know Spy X Family, you should watch it. Great anime. Anyways, without further ado, I hope y'all are doing great with your Go Battle League sets, and they're going well. The lag is horrendous, and there's absolutely no excuse for Niantic at this point. Niantic on Niantic, but dang, like really it being this broken, like this game is not esports ready, nor is it close to ever being a tier 1 esport as huge as games like Apex, etc. But hey, you know what? We can dream. And without further ado, good luck on your Go Battle League sets, however the heck's going on right now. I really hope you guys are having a great time, and I will see y'all on the next video.